This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. Let's start a brand new week. It's Monday, September 8th, 2024, and you are listening to Binghamton Now. It's time for you to call. Go ahead, be caller number one at 607-772-1290. WNBF. And it is good morning to be on the radio here in Binghamton. This is the place where I am meant to be. I hope you are in the place you are meant to be. If you have a couple of free minutes, we will encourage you to participate. This is an issue-oriented program, so if you're part of this Stick to the Issues crowd, you're certainly invited to participate. The number is 607-772-1290. We can talk about Binghamton and beyond. I know a lot of people have some strong feelings about the end of the baseball season. I do as well. I mean, it's not technically the end of the baseball season, but as far as being able to attend baseball games here in Binghamton, we now have to wait till April 8th. April 8th. I believe that's 211 days, but who's counting? April 8th, probably, I guess maybe first pitch at 6:35, maybe. Anyway, I think it's the Yard Goats coming to Binghamton. So Yard Goats taking on the Rumble Ponies in just a little less than 7 months. So it'll be here before you know it. I'd like to thank everybody who was part of the Rumble Ponies season for the work they did to make baseball in Binghamton fun, summertime fun. And I did have a chance over the last few days to attend 3 games. So enjoyed my evenings at the stadium over the last few days. So it's always, by the time September gets here, it's certainly bittersweet. It's nice that we still have baseball in September, but it's also with the realization that fall is around the corner, and then blizzards, and then finally spring with the return of baseball. Enjoyed a couple of chats with David Sabatka, talking about baseball and a few other things. Oh, yeah, and that beautiful little pup. What a nice doggy. It's always nice to see a little dog at a ball game. I had a chance to see him a couple of times. Anyway, so that's the story of baseball. Of course, the Rumble Ponies are not quite done with their 2024 season. Of course, they have 6 more scheduled games against the Sea Dogs in Portland, and you'll be able to hear those games right here on News Radio WNBF, unless you're one of the lucky people who can go to Portland and spend Tuesday through Sunday cheering on the Rumble Ponies at Hadlock Field. If you're not that lucky, well, be my guest to listen to our coverage right here on WNBF every evening, at least during the week, with Jacob Wilkins at 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. It's hard to believe that it is September. I know you're saying, well, Bob, where have you been? I know, I've been here all along. It just seems, it seems that the first 8 months of the year flew right by. Now we're looking ahead desperately to a presidential debate. Some people claim this will be the only presidential debate. Gosh, I hope that's not true, but if it is, I think we know who's going to win. And if you're going to be listening or watching the presidential debate, I'd like to hear from you, see what your thoughts are, if you already know who won. I will watch it myself tomorrow night. Of course, you know me, I haven't made any early judgments. I just think I know who will win, but I'll wait to see tomorrow night for sure. So I'm not jumping to any early conclusions. Because as we know, in a presidential debate, anything could happen. I mean, what if they give one of the candidates, what if they give him the questions in advance? So he would wind up having an unfair advantage. So hopefully ABC News will not go that route. Let's take a phone call at 918. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning there, Bob. It's Dave from Vestal. Have a good weekend there?
Oh, fantastic. One of the best. I was busy this weekend. I usually am not quite that busy, but between baseball games and outdoor projection arts festivals and hanging around a fire with a dog and friends, it was a good weekend.
Stay busy, Bob. Good for you. Hey, I figured I'd get it started this morning. Nobody seems in a big rush to give you a call, but
no, that's okay. I don't want people to be upset 10 minutes into the program.
Okay. Hey, Bob, given that you're so reasonable and also a purveyor of common sense, I would have to bet money that you would agree that we need federal voter ID laws in this country to prove that you're an American citizen. You would agree with that, I would hope.
All right, continue.
Don't rush, Bob. Well, okay, but that's...
And what else? And what else do you think should happen?
Consider that a question, though, Bob. Can you do that or no? Or is that something you don't want to answer?
Well, you didn't form it as a question. I mean, you basically... Well, you said I would think you would have to agree. Ask a question. Put it in the form of a question. Pretend you're on Jeopardy or whatever that show is. World of Fortune.
Do you, Bob Joseph, believe that we should have federal voter ID law proving that you're an American citizen?
No.
No.
Well,
okay.
Why do we need it now when we haven't had it for nearly 250 years? What do you think? I mean, the country has done really well. We've had some good presidents, and then, of course, you know who. So I guess it would say the law of averages suggests that out of every 46 or so presidents, you're always going to get a clunker, perhaps, but it has nothing to do with any sort of identification law.
Okay, well, how many other, tell me, you can count, let me know, how many other election cycles where the administration was so stupid enough to allow 20 million people in the country? How many times did that happen, Bob?
Oh, I have no idea. Although I've lived in this country all my life, I'm a product of public schools, so I didn't get as much U.S. history education as I should have, but I'm sure you know.
Oh, Bob, no, I don't know if any can compare going back in history, but again, I would bet money that nothing compares to this past 3.5 years, 4 years.
Well, I caution you, if you're going to start betting money, that's you're probably going to start losing cash. I always caution people, wagering is foolish. In the end, you're going to lose money. And then at the end of the day, you're going to say, oh, if only I hadn't been making foolish bets, they would have enough money to pay for the gas now that it costs $3.43 a gallon.
Well, what's going on now, Bob, is, this is a ploy that the Democrats always use. You got the spending bill coming up this month. And the Republicans, I think, are being smart by forcing this, because we do want voter ID laws in this country. And if you look at the percentage of people, it's like 70, 80% agree that there should be voter ID laws.
Well, if you want it, fight for it. I don't discourage people from fighting for what they believe in.
Right. But the Republicans...
Right to a Congress. Send a telegram.
So, in other words... They're going to be voting. They're going to, on the spending bill, Bob, they're going to add that. They're going to attach it to it. And they're going to force them to have to vote on that. And wouldn't the Democrats look pretty stupid fighting that and voting against that? And then we shut down the country, Bob. We shut down the country.
Why is the country going to be shut down?
Huh?
You don't shut down the United States of America. What party would take action to shut down the USA?
Well, if the Democrats won't vote, Bob, if they won't do it, if they won't vote for it, then it's going to be their fault for shutting down the country.
No, the Republicans, what you're telling me, apparently, is the Republicans are trying to set up a situation to threaten to shut down the country. So they're using what some would suggest are blackmail tactics to try to get their own way.
Which the Democrats do all the time. So, Bob, take it. Have some of your own medicine. That's what I'm telling them.
I don't want any medicine. I want the country to keep running. If you can't find a way to get legislation passed that you support other than threatening to shut down the country, then maybe you had better look in the mirror and take a harsh assessment of yourself and where you have failed. Because shutting down the United States government should never be an option.
And proving that you're an American citizen should never be an option either, Bob.
Well, that may be true. But most importantly, priority one, there's only one priority for the president and for members of Congress. The most important priority is to see to it that the U.S. government continues to run uninterrupted. This is not like NYSEG.
At all costs.
Yes, at all costs. Again, this is not the power company. This is not the cable company. This is not the internet company. This is not the newspaper. Yes, keep it going at all costs. This is the United States government, the best. We set the standard for the world. So anybody who is trying to set up a scenario to shut down the government should be viewed as an enemy of the state.
Okay. Bob, you get a little dramatic there now. Enemy of the state? And not that far.
Yes. Who else in the world would want to shut down the U.S. government? Putin? Kim Jong-un?
Yeah.
Come on. Nobody on the planet except people who wish America harm want our government shut down. So yes, enemies of the state, both within and without, are working tirelessly to try to get the government to shut down.
Bob, if the government got shut down because Democrats fought against voter ID, who do you think they would blame? Who do you think would look more foolish?
It has nothing to do with the blame game. That's childish. This is not the show for childish ideas. This is a show for mature thought and understanding that the U.S. government cannot and shall not be shut down.
Well, if they did over that, the election would be over right at that point.
Hey, if you shut down the government and then there are problems with the election, then you'll have only yourself to blame. So here we are, within the 2-month window of the most important election of my life, and you're talking about the possibility of shutting down the federal government. So even a modest blip in the operation of the fascinating machine of U.S. government, even the slightest blip or interruption, could affect the sanctity of the elections. So if anybody thinks that shutting down the federal government is an idea, you better at least put it off for at least until July 4th next year. You don't talk. You shouldn't even be whispering about the possibility of shutting down our government right before the election, just days before the most important election of my life.
Being that supposedly it's a given that the race is going to be razor thin. I personally don't believe that. I believe it's hot water.
I agree. No, I agree with you. It's not going to be razor thin, just like in 2020. You know, the separation between the two candidates was nearly 8 million votes. I predict that it could be even higher this time because I think that now, with 4 more years of observation of those involved, I think the American voters have a pretty good idea of who the candidates are and what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, I agree. You know, we agree on that one, Bob. That Trump will have 90 million votes this time. Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad you agree. Hey, you know, yeah, because it's going to be a blowout on his end, not on her end.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
You don't want to see that. Well, Bob, we're going to have to wait and see, but I believe Trump is going to blow her out, and it's not going to be.
We'll see. We'll all see. We'll all be staying up late. And by the way, I caution you, Dave, from Vestal. Remember, the final results of the election will not be available on election night. For those of you who are under the false impression that the final vote tally will be available on Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning, get a hold of yourself and understand that the final tally won't emerge potentially for several days. That's just because we are a big country. This is not some sort of banana republic or some sort of operation like Russia where the elections are rigged.
No, it's because of PA, Bob. They have a terrible system. That's why it's going to take so long. And Bob,
No. Don't criticize Pennsylvania's election system on this program. You can criticize Pennsylvania's highway system. We all agree. The highway system in Pennsylvania. Look at PennDOT. I rest my case. But don't take cheap shots at the election system in the Keystone State. It is among the best. It's among the 50 best in the country.
Now that you brought that up, Bob, how about 2016? How did we know that night? How come we could know that night on that in 2016 when Trump won? We knew that night. It was late in the evening, like maybe, I don't know, I forget when I saw her that one anchor. She was crying on TV because Trump won. I can't remember who it was.
So she wore her emotions on her sleeve. You know, you don't have to like anchors, but the fact is, at least up until this year, all the anchors were human. This year, most of the anchors are going to be replaced by AI, so you won't have to see any emotionalism. But, you know, for anyone to say with a straight face that news anchors or reporters, or for that matter, people who work as plumbers don't have emotions. Everybody has emotions. And the fact, now, some people might argue it would have been better for her career if she had managed to conceal her emotions, but hey, that's the way it goes. It's live, like this program. Thank you, Dave. It's 9:30, WNBF Binghamton. More calls more often. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bob. It's DJ. How's everybody today? How you doing?
Oh, swell.
I wanted to say happy birthday to Jerry the Barber, 164 Main Street, my dad, who went to be with the Lord in 2006. You know where Popeye's Chicken was the A&P supermarket? And that little barber shop with the barber pole, he raised little Dougie, little DJ. I called him Dada. He would be, because I couldn't, my speech wasn't until I was older. He'd be 97 today, so I want to say happy birthday. Did Don Morgan do the birthdays this morning?
I'm sure he did. He does them every morning.
Hey, I know we had he had Carol Coppins on. You know who Carol Coppins is?
Sure, she's been on the program before. She's been on the Binghamton Now show.
You've been, yep. I've heard her on the Binghamton Now. Carol Coppins is the director of the YWCA, and on the first floor of the YWCA back in the early 90s, they had the community place. You could rent it for wedding receptions. You could rent it for birthday parties. And I walked in there one time. I was, oh, man, you guys got Sunday morning open? Yeah, how much? $25 for 3 hours. So that was Faith Fellowship from 1991 to 93 until we moved to Peoria and started a church out there. What are those 5 properties? I'm going to have to go onto her site. Those 5 properties she was talking about, they're right around there?
Sure.
She said she had 5 properties.
Yeah, there are 5 properties. Yeah. Why don't you go? Why don't you go and see them? Yeah, go see them.
Yeah, I will. Why don't you,
go over and check them out for yourself. You can see them. They're open to the public, although I think they put up no trespassing signs, so don't step on the properties. Stay.
Are they lots? Are they lots?
Go see for yourself. I'm not going to comment on their program and their property.
I want to do a lot of things. Today's supposed to be my Shabbat, but it never works out that way much.
All right. Well, all I can say is hope for the best.
Now, wait a minute. What were you in? Was that Dave from Vestal I heard talking about the debate tomorrow night? Who's going to win the debate, Bobby? I'm going to talk. We
already know who's going to win the debate. There's one person who is intelligent and coherent, and then there's the other candidate.
The wonderful Kamala Harris, our favorite president. We could probably. Are you going to start calling her President Trump or President Kamala?
I'll call her President-elect after tomorrow night's debate. Starting Wednesday on the program, we'll probably start calling her President-elect because we should start to show some deference.
Guess who's on tonight, Bob, on ABC at 9 p.m.?
Oh, I hope it's Howard Cosell and the Action Sports team.
Close. Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, my team.
Aaron Rodgers, is he the kid who refuses to get vaxxed?
He's the kid who got his femur or whatever hurt. Or whatever it was.
Who was the one who was so outrageously outspoken about the jab? Wasn't it him? Wasn't it Aaron Rodgers, or is that Johnny Hammerstein?
QAnon does that a lot. Don't get vaxxed. Somebody told me, my ex-girlfriend told me that, oh, God.
Don't talk about your ex. Don't talk about your ex.
Not in this state, in Peoria. She said I was going to lose my faith if I got vaxxed. And I said, what do you mean lose my faith? She goes, it changes your RNA. And
okay. Well, that's Felicia's opinion. Thank you, DJ. It's 9:34 at WNBF. Oh, look who wandered in.
Hi.
Hi, it's mystery guest.
Hi.
What's going on there, mystery
guest? I have a present from Liga.
Well, it is. Oh, my gosh.
You will have to explain this because I can't remember the story.
Well, we'll explain it later, but it finally happened.
Yeah, I finally remembered it.
It was bound to happen.
Yeah, it's only been in my office for 2 months.
See? No. But that's okay. That's what makes it extra special.
Yeah.
Like the crispy buckets of chicken you can get at Bob Filet. So, you can't call it Bob Filet. It sounds like it's dinner for cannibals. So anyway, you get a bucket.
Yes.
We can't call it Chick-fil-A either because that's taken already. Let's call it.
Can't call it KFC.
No. I know.
Tennessee fried
Bob
poultry.
and Jerry's.
Bob and Jerry's.
Bob and Jerry's original recipe fried chickens.
That's right. Mighty fine.
Mighty fine.
Mighty fine.
We developed it in a shack somewhere in the town of Shenango.
Yes. That would be right near me.
Really? With Dr. Harvey.
That's right. Ooh.
Using space age research.
It's finger licking good.
And all Bob and Jerry chicken shacks are open Sundays.
That's right. Because we just don't care.
Well, we care.
Well, we care.
What we care about is the almighty buck.
That's right.
Money talks.
Because greed, for another word, is good. Yes, according to the movie.
But it's not just so much about greed. It's the understanding that hunger is a big issue here in Broome County. Yes. And it occurs to me that some of our most loyal listeners and some of our special viewers do get hungry on Sundays. So it seems to me forcing them to essentially have a 24-hour fast while we just close on Sunday doesn't seem to be very thoughtful or, we want to be humane.
Yeah.
So.
And open all holidays.
Of course.
Yes.
And our employees.
Because people on Christmas get hungry too.
Right. And
not our workers, but
special. Yeah, but our workers, to make up for working on holidays and late nights and weekends, they get paid 4 times their normal wage.
Oh, well.
So instead of $20 an hour, instead of $20 an hour, they're going to get $80 an hour.
Okay.
When people look at the menu board and say, man, I can't believe Bob and Jerry's is charging $79.99 for a chicken sandwich that I can get across the street over at the Oakdale Mall for $7.90. It's like, well, you got to cover your costs.
That's right.
Yeah. It's not bad. So, okay, well, it's good you're here.
Yeah.
I know, because we can't afford a weather deck. So since I have no weather deck, obviously I have a talk deck that I've been yapping on for decades.
Yes, you have.
I have no weather deck, so tell me what the weather is.
The weather is around 59 degrees outside. It's mostly sunny. It's quite bright out there, but with a few clouds in the sky. Looks like it's going to continue that for the rest of the day and then get increasingly dark toward evening.
Is there a risk of thunderstorms?
Well, supposedly, according to my phone, which is always sometimes accurate, there's supposed to be a chance of some rain later this afternoon.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll transmit any watches or warnings to.
And unfortunately for the listeners, they didn't see me against the green board, just pointing out everything. And Howard Magis, he has no fear of losing his job.
Yeah. But you know what he should do is always check the batteries in his clicker.
I have noticed that on occasion.
It's important. What I've learned about
yes,
because I'll tell you what. Here's a parallel in real life.
Yeah.
So this is not actually a weather clicker, but it's the next best thing.
Yes.
This is a vehicle clicker.
That's right. And if the battery goes down,
and as I discovered after Luma,
you don't get in.
So after Luma at about 12:30 Saturday morning.
Oh no.
So the battery here apparently is on the fritz. Can I say that? On the fritz?
On the fritz is okay.
Yeah, okay. I read somewhere that somebody says that's an offensive.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh.
That it's somehow offensive to some Germans. Had you ever heard that?
Because Fritz is a German name?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't think Mr. Wallenberg would mind.
I wouldn't think.
He was a very nice man. I met him many times.
I used to work with a guy in radio. His name was Fritz.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we'll just say
it was not working appropriately.
Yeah, so as not to offend any of our more sensitive viewers.
Yes.
Apparently the battery has gone kaput.
I see.
So I had to manually.
You actually still have a key.
Yeah, so I had to manually. And I think I sprained my wrist by
trying to open the door with the key.
Yeah, well,
it's
been so long.
It requires hand-eye coordination, which we know that sometimes all of us are lacking. There is a way that you're supposed to be able to put it against the inside of your glove compartment, and it will start the vehicle.
That's what they said.
Well, if you have an electric start, do you have an electric start?
No. Oh, my friend does. He's got 2 cars with electric start, and he said, with my car, I can do that when the battery goes dead.
Yes.
But he also said it's a complicated procedure.
It is.
It's like, and I'm thinking to myself, when I grew up, it shows you, again, a reflection of my age. This is how we used to start our car.
Yeah.
We had a 66 Olds. We used the clapper. Now, we didn't publicize that because we figured in our high-crime, high-risk neighborhood in Endwell, if we publicized that 2 claps would start off our 66 Olds, it was, what do they call it, a jet star.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know.
I figured either it started the car or all the lights in your house came on.
No, the lights is just one.
Just one?
Yeah. Oh. And if you wanted to watch Channel 12, WNBF TV, it was 2. 2 plus 2 claps, and that you could watch Bernie on Action News.
Ooh.
Or Communications Center 12.
That's right, please. Communications Center 12 for us historians.
All right. Well, it's 9:41.
Yeah.
I think, as they say, have you ever noticed on TV shows, like, say, if everything is going wrong, like if the story's, like every time they push for a story and for some reason it's just not there or something, something, they won't tell you. Have you noticed on TV or even radio when something's going wrong, they never tell you explicitly what's going wrong, but you certainly have a sense that something behind the scenes isn't right. And so what they sometimes say, and I remember there was a popular anchor on Action News many years ago, and when things were going wrong, and really wrong in the first 3.5 minutes of the program, I mean, it was like one disaster after another. Right. Bing, bam, boom. Let's go to another story. None of the stories were there.
Queued up wrong.
The graphics didn't show up.
The teleprompter didn't work.
Yeah, the teleprompter was on fire. And so he looks like frantic into the camera and says, let's take a break and try to regroup. It's like whenever you hear somebody on radio or TV say, let's try to regroup, that's really bad. You should call, like, the authorities and have them send over a couple of patrols. No, send 3 patrols. That's a 3-car call to check out the newsroom over there for a welfare check. We've got to regroup. Anyway, it's 9:43. Let's regroup, and hopefully we'll be back later with more insightful live coverage here on WNBF as we celebrate the coming
debate eve.
Yes. Who will win? We know. Details coming up. So, is it Monday already?
Yes.
Are we really on the air? For some reason, I thought this is one of those dream sequences like in Twin Peaks, and I was just waiting for the little dancing guy to start snapping his fingers.
How the log lady will walk by.
My log.
Bob.
My log has a message.
Bob.
Bob. A lot of people say, gee, I wonder if David Lynch patterned that Bob character
after you,
after me. And I say, well, contractually, I'm not really allowed to publicly discuss that, so you can draw your own contusions. That's
hurt.
Painful.
Yeah.
Really. Can the doctor see me now? No, Mr. Joseph. The doctor has more important things to do. There's somebody there who has a cough. But look, I'm bleeding out all over the place.
Matter.
It's like, no, I've seen this before. I used to work at the Heinz factory in Pittsburgh. This doesn't faze me. We used to churn out 59 million gallons of catsup every day. By the way, why did they call it catsup? There was somebody...
I don't know, instead of ketchup.
Yeah. I guess it wasn't Heinz.
Catsup.
There was some upstart company.
Yes.
I think they thought because Heinz was synonymous
with ketchup
and 56 other varieties. Yeah. So it's like, I know what we'll do. We'll try to market something called catsup and see if people think
it's the same thing.
Yeah. Or better.
Usually in a bottle that's colored remarkably similar.
Yeah.
Similar? Thank you, George W. Bush. Nuclear. To Heinz.
Yeah. It's funny the way they do that. It's lucky they didn't get in trouble from the trademark attorneys. Hey, coming right up, by the way, in case people haven't figured it out, we've got Jerry Lewis here in the studio. We're going to ask him.
No, it's Jerry Smith.
Oh, Jerry Smith. I knew it was a Jerry. Well,
touch it. It's nice, lady.
I was going to ask him. Of course, he's no longer with us in this life, but say if we had an AI version of Jerry Lewis, we could ask him why he quit the telethon. I was doing some research. I had forgotten, and I can't remember what year it was, 2010 or 2011. Right. Suddenly, Jerry Lewis disappeared from the Labor Day telethon under what we will say, for our purposes, mysterious circumstances. They had a falling out.
Oh, okay.
And nobody ever really
explained?
Not to my satisfaction.
Well,
I mean,
your satisfaction.
Just going to say, I'm like...
The rest of us kind of go, he's old, he's doddering.
Hey, now.
He's drooling.
Stop describing the host of this program.
Okay.
I'm like Mick Jagger.
But the French still loved him.
I can't. Well, they also love freedom fries, too.
Yeah, that's
it's 9:49. Don't touch that dial because there certainly is going to be more content coming at you on WNBF. Well, perhaps. Well, perhaps. We don't know.
You at least use a straw.
Can you imagine?
It could be a cardboard box.
So can you imagine? And again, let's expand this discussion to cover just generic cable hosts who are women. Now, let's say generic cable hosts of any gender.
Right.
Women, men, other.
Right.
This day and age, we want to cover all bases.
Everything.
All are welcome.
Right.
And you, instead of being a wine connoisseur, you buy your wine by those big cardboard boxes.
It's the gallon size of Muscatel.
Yeah. And you get a big straw.
And you get a big straw.
All right. By the way, this is not officially Ask the Historian.
No.
This is just this is a warm-up show.
Exactly. We're just getting started, folks.
You ain't seen
We're
nothing
just
yet.
riffing.
Yeah. Let's take a call.
Oh, okay.
It's probably the FCC asking, do you kids realize that you are still supposed to serve the public interest, convenience, and necessity?
Another venture I'll probably get fired for.
Okay. We're all going to get fired sometime.
Yes, we are.
The only thing I say about each of us, we've had a good run.
Yes.
Yeah. So
everything I've done, I seem to do for a long time.
We all leave with our heads held high.
Yeah.
And going on to the next.
And then probably trip over the door.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you didn't have your head so high and have such a big ego.
See where your foot was, yeah.
Sadly, now you're going to be in a body cast for the next 6 years.
Take the call, Bob.
Hi, WNBF. Your call is important to Jerry. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Jim from Vestal.
Hi, Jim. What's up?
How are you?
Never better.
Okay, great. Just wanted to comment briefly on the federal election registration, whatever he was talking about earlier. To give you a quick scenario, if you're 18 years old and you register to vote on your form in Broome County, or as I presume in all the counties in New York State, you ask your name, your address, et cetera, et cetera. You're also asked for either your driver's license number or the last 4 digits of Social Security. You also have to check off 2 boxes that you're a United States citizen, and there's a warning on the registration form of a $5,000 fine. So I guess I would like to ask, I know on the Broome County Election Board, there's both a Democrat and a Republican on that board. Maybe they could clarify how thoroughly the registration forms get checked.
All right. Well, I'll throw that out there. If they're listening, I'm going to ask them to call us. Thank you. Yeah. I bet they're listening. They'll probably call us. That's a good question, though.
It is. And he's right, because I remember filling it out when I was 18. It was exactly the same then.
Jerry, you've been a historian now for a while.
Just a while,
In your job as a historian,
yes.
Local, and you've covered beyond local.
Yes.
Do you think that there's a lot of election fraud going on in your lifetime?
No.
I didn't think so.
Nope.
Okay, case closed.
Yep, that's it.
If it please the court, no further witnesses, Your Honor. Okay, send it to the jury. Jury, the jury deliberates for about 15 seconds and comes back and says, nope, we find no evidence of anything being rigged. Everything seems to be good. Okay, coming up next on most of these stations, Jerry Smith will appear.
Magically.
Yeah, so stay tuned. It's 9:56, WNBF and WNBF.com. So, anyway, it is called Stump the Historian, so if you have real historical questions.
That's right.
We have a
caller already.
Yeah, we have a caller on the line at 607-772-1290. Morning, DJ from Binghamton. Do you have a question for Jerry Smith?
Yeah, my name's DJ. I'm a first-time caller. Hey, Jerry. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning.
I called earlier. I want to call again. Jerry, you being the historian that you are, I know you've talked about him before, but 76 Main Street, corner of Walnut and Main. If we could go a little in depth about what it was at first, was that mansion I love that Magic Man riff. Alexa, pause. Magic Man. So anyway, what was that building? Was that his own home? And then I believe someone purchased it. That didn't work out, and now it's the Post 80. My question is, because people are telling me he was Leighton, the druggist. The online saying he was Leighton, the Binghamton Chair Company. Can you tell us more about E.F. Leighton and the building, please, Jerry?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Oh, that's a great
It wasn't
question.
the Binghamton Chair Company. No, that was a guy by the name of Roswell Bump. There's a name for you.
Oh, yeah, and we celebrate him every day on Shenango Street with a multitude of bumps that'll never be repaired.
That's right.
In his honor.
Oh, yeah. If it's the Leighton I'm thinking of, you're right. They were into selling. It sounds bad when you say he's into selling drugs, but
that's what pharmacists do. They sell drugs. And they do it
in Leighton
legally.
Pharmacy, yeah. But you're right. It was built as a private home. The date I don't know exactly, but I'm thinking in my head it's right around the 1910 period. And then from there, I'm not sure exactly when Post 80 got it, but they've been in there since about right after World War II, I believe. And they're the ones who put on the addition in the back where a lot of pancake breakfasts and such have been served and functions and such. So it's a wonderful home. I mean, I've been inside many times. It's got some wonderful woodwork and the staircase going up to the second floor. And the Post has maintained it all these years. I know that there were issues a few years back. There was under consideration that they were going to sell off the Post, either merge with another Post, because that's been happening around the area. But, I don't know if there was an intervening owner or not, but that's what I know about the home. It's a wonderful design home.
Right. Well, maybe some of our other viewers.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. That's a good question.
Great
DJ.
question.
By the way, questions are gladly accepted.
Yes.
607-772-1290. Well, we have a moment. I know sometimes, Jerry, you have things going on.
Oh, yeah.
In Tioga County and Owego that might be of interest.
Even here, I'm speaking this evening in Vestal.
In Vestal? No kidding.
At Vestal Public Library at, what time? 7 o'clock. I'm doing my Follow the North Star, the Underground Railroad program for a new group, and don't ask me the name of it because it's just gone out of my head. But it's a group of women hoping to reinforce the Constitution. But on Saturday the 21st at 2 o'clock in Owego at the Tioga County Historical Society Museum, Emma Senor, the Tioga County historian, is talking about the Floridora girl from Owego and some not so notable women. She might throw in a prostitute or a brothel or two. So that's at 2 o'clock.
In Vestal?
No, in Owego.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
Oh, no.
I mean,
Vestal never had a brothel.
No. I was going to say. No. I mean, that's why, someday it'll
We had one in Shenango Forks, but that's okay.
Someday people say, what was the name of Old Vestal Road originally? And it's like, Old Brothel Road. It's like everybody knows.
Well, yeah. But that's the 21st. And then for those interested in local history, if I get enough students, will be teaching my local history course, my Broome County history course for SUNY Broome Continuing Ed starting next Thursday, the 19th, for 5 Thursdays from 6 to 8. If they're interested, it's $89 a person, and you contact SUNY Broome Continuing Ed and sign up. And please do so rapidly because the enrollment date is coming to a close pretty soon. And let's see, I'll be doing my cemetery tour on Sunday, October 27th. This year it's going to be Spring Forest Cemetery. That's at 2 o'clock. That's also for SUNY Broome Continuing Ed. And I think they charge $39 a person to take that tour. Bob's going to comment right now.
Well, yeah, about the cemetery tour, because you recall getting your weekend was going well on a Saturday afternoon until it wasn't. Then suddenly you see, on your phone it says, Bob, do not answer.
See, it's either you or sometimes it said Steve Craig, and sometimes it says Jim Emke on it.
Sure. And it's like the media.
Yeah. Or George Basler.
Yeah. The media, no, you're the go-to source for all that is good in America. So I was conducting my own cemetery tour with a friend. Actually, this was in the early weeks of the pandemic when, got to be blunt, there really wasn't much to do. Of course, nothing on TV.
That's
Remember
right.
when the entire TV industry shut down? Well, we've lost the will. People are going to watch even if we put on a test pattern. They're stuck in their homes. So there was nothing on TV. And my friend and I went to Spring Forest Cemetery, and I don't know how many hours we spent. I mean, it's a treasure trove of local history in the First Ward, and we were looking for someone's grave, and at the moment, I forget who
it was, too, and I didn't know where it was because it wasn't part of my normal route because they were a little higher up.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful place to teach history while telling some entertaining stories. Plus, I get to dress up as a Victorian sort of funeral director.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right.
And for those before they call and ask, the Southern Tier Throwback, the photos will continue to appear every Friday in the Press and Sun Bulletin, at least for the time being. And my Spanning Time column is coming back, but it will only be twice a week. That's what I've been informed.
Being twice a month.
Twice a month, not twice a week.
I would say twice a week. Yes.
I'd be making even more money.
I was going to say I would consider actually restarting my subscription.
Yeah. So and when it will first appear, I don't know.
All right.
They are undergoing changes, and that's what I've been privy to.
All right. Well, that's good news because honestly, just between you and me, and this doesn't go any further, it's just essentially off the record, but personally, I had noticed, like in the last few weeks, that the one feature, all right, not the only feature, but anyway, one of the features I had always looked forward to, the Southern Tier Throwback with the pictures, and also your fabulous Sunday column, and for some reason, and I thought it was a production problem. I thought the people down in...
I was on hold.
Yeah, I thought the people in Bangalore had decided, they accidentally put your column in the Boise Picayune or something.
Well, they could have, because if it's a Gannett newspaper...
Could be anywhere.
I have found that my column has run in 20-some cities across the U.S. because they have that right. So
sure, they can run it.
They can run it
anywhere on any platform
that they own
in perpetuity.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty. You write it once or come up with the item once, and who knows? It could outlive you.
Yeah.
Assuming the company is still around.
I literally just got contacted by a Secret Service agent.
Well, of course you did.
And I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, what did I do?
Now.
And he was the agent in charge in their New York City bureau of one particular program. And they were looking for the photographs that I used for a chapter in my book on James Maloney, the Binghamton police officer who ended up being the head of the Presidential Secret Service detail during the 1948 election. When he thought Thomas E. Dewey was going to win the election, he pulled the detail off Harry Truman and put it on Dewey. And President Truman didn't have much of a sense of humor about that, and Mr. Maloney was sentenced to desk duty in the Treasury Department for his remaining years in office.
And then later he had to do a radio talk show weekdays from noon to 3.
That's right, and see what happened.
Yeah. Well, there you go. When did they contact you?
Less than a week ago.
Really?
They had my email, and it appeared in my email, and I sent them they wanted to know if I could send them digital copies of the photos I'd used. And I don't know how they had seen it, because I probably wrote a column about it based on the chapter in the book.
I think they used Google.
Well, probably.
Did a Google, it showed up in
what they really were looking for was his swearing in for the Treasury Department photograph, which was a pretty good quality. But I'll be honest, the rights were owned by another entity, not Broome County or Tioga or me or whatever. And I said, this is all I can give you. But he said, can you take off the watermark? And I went, no.
Wait a second. You're telling me on live radio the U.S. Secret Service asked you, a prominent historian, whether you could remove the watermark from someone else's photo?
Yes.
That's a scandal.
And I said that, no, I said you can use whatever. You're welcome to contact them. Here's the contact information. He did thank me, and he was very nice about it. But because it was the best quality, the rest of them were the ones out of the paper, and they were a little dot matrixy and such, a little pixelated.
I'm just fascinated that somebody.
Yeah.
I wonder if he really worked for the Secret Service.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like some scammer saying. And so I'm with the Secret Service. So can you send me $100 in cryptocurrency?
Nope. Okay. It was just they were trying to they're trying to include more digital content in their files on the former Secret Service agents, especially the presidential detail. And I went, cool.
Well, at least they're doing that instead of providing top-notch security for their protectees.
It's like the gentleman who I sat at the old library on Exchange Street at the reference desk. This gentleman came up and said, I'm Mr. So-and-so. I'm with the FBI. And first of all, I thought, what? And I thought he was going to ask me something that I couldn't provide, which is usually patron information and such, because it's
protected.
This is well before the Patriot Act and such. No, he just wanted some generic. He said, I didn't even know we had an FBI office in Binghamton.
Oh, yeah.
And in the federal building on Henry Street. He was extremely pleasant. He came in several times. He was just looking for a particular piece of information like every other person, but I thought, well, and I've met a former head of the Secret Service presidential detail who worked from the time of the administrations of Ronald Reagan through Bill Clinton. And then his son had joined the Secret Service. And he told me lots of stories about night times in the White House up on the third floor, which is the residence area, and the wonderful paintings and the history of the building. And he didn't tell me about the snipers' roosts up on the roof and such, but he thoroughly enjoyed his job, and he was a wonderful gentleman to speak with. So now I've had interactions with the FBI and the Secret Service. And I can't take watermarks off photos.
I still find that
it's
somewhat disturbing.
It was so clear, and he could see that I had probably used it without permission or something.
Here's a more important question. We're talking about the Secret Service.
Right.
We're not talking about the people that run Disney World. We're talking about a good operation. Secret Service is a good operation.
Yeah.
I mean, people have always held them in the highest of regard. So my question to you is, and ponder this, if they thought you could remove the watermark, why can't they? They're the Secret Service.
Well,
Don't they have a machine to remove watermarks?
I think he thought I just had a copy, a digital copy without it, a clean copy, and I had sent him the wrong one. And unfortunately, no.
See, this is why I'm thinking that maybe he wasn't really with the real Secret Service, because the real Secret Service, I'm sure, has a machine.
Oh, they probably do, but he wasn't about to. Yeah, but it was the right address and everything, and
so it's going to be interesting.
And the funny thing is, Maloney had been ahead of that same division in New York City, the office in New York City.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The interesting thing really will be between now and 11 o'clock when, even before you're out of here, two guys from the Secret Service come in. They say, Mr. Smith, can you take over the rest of the show, because we have a few questions for Mr. Joseph. We heard some of his remarks on the broadcast, and we take exception to some of his.
I did meet the detail assigned to Hillary Clinton. Because she came to our library, a number of years ago. It was to promote something with one of the local businesses, which I apologize, I've forgotten. But she came in and they came ahead and scoped out the route and the room like they're supposed to and everything. And they were extremely friendly, and they said, but when it gets time, they said, everybody please back away from us and don't talk to us, because they have to do their job. And there was a woman and a male agent, and they were very efficient. And then she was there, and it was fun to watch, and then she left, and they left with her. So but I thought, well, now I've had all sorts of interaction with the Secret Service.
One of the things that still perplexes me to this day,
yes,
was when Hillary Clinton, and she was still considered the First Lady of the United States. So
yes,
that's
why she had the detail.
Yeah, so a pretty high-profile position in the world. And so she came to Broome County one time because she wanted to go to Pat Moynihan's farm in Pinder's Corners. So her plane landed at Binghamton International Airport.
Right.
And the word was circulated, and it was made crystal clear that under no circumstances will the First Lady speak to any reporters in Broome County. If reporters wanted to speak with her because she was starting her listening tour to listen to whether she should continue with her plan or proceed with her plan to run for the U.S. Senate.
Right.
So they were going to have the big news conference up at Pat Moynihan's farmhouse in Pinder's Corners outside Oneonta. I'm thinking, like, I don't have time for that. I can't go like an hour and 10 minutes just to probably not even be able to get a question in edgewise. What chance? Because I'm sure Sam Donaldson was there and Tucker Carlson. Everybody was all the big.
I was going to say that's quite a crew. Sam Donaldson and Tucker Carlson.
Well, I saw a picture of them together. I don't know what that was about.
And Edward R. Murrow. No, Eric Severide.
Yeah, and the weird thing was the only one smoking a cigarette was Tucker Carlson. You know, the other three who you would think would be smoking cigarettes had quit by then, but Tucker Carlson is like, he's smoking a Lucky. And it's like,
ooh,
makes no sense, but whatever. He's probably getting like a product placement fee, you know. Oh, look, Tucker Carlson smokes Luckies.
Right.
I should too. Anyway, so the thing about it was I wanted to ask a few questions to Hillary Clinton. I mean,
so you went up to the airport.
So I went up to the airport.
Well, of course you did.
Of course I did. With the express desire and mission to ask questions, even though they said
you couldn't.
You couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to take no for an answer. Come on.
You're a reporter.
I'm a reporter on deadline.
The news is everything.
Well, we had the midday report back then at 11:50.
Oh,
so
yes.
She landed, I think, at about 11 or something, and then she was supposed to be whisked away in a motorcade from the airport and take the trek up Interstate 88 to Pat's farm. And I thought, well, this is absolutely no good. So as a reporter, I found out from one of her campaign people, well, the motorcade will make a stop as it goes down from the airport at the first intersection there, Commercial Drive, because it's going to be made to look like a spontaneous thing because some people will be there with signs saying
Hillary,
go Hillary, or whatever.
Right.
And it was supposed to be all spontaneous, and then the campaign, even though it wasn't officially started yet, will take some pictures of her interacting with people who are spontaneously, again, air quotes, seeking her to run for the U.S. Senate.
Right.
And I thought, well, there's my opportunity.
So you can stand amidst those people.
So what I did, when the motorcade leaves, so you've got, of course, Secret Service and state police and sheriff's deputies and so on. So I joined the motorcade in my personally owned vehicle. Obviously, not one marked that says WNBF News. That would have they would have been sure to shut that down. So I'm driving in my personally operated Bobmobile. Sure enough, as expected, they stopped for this spontaneous event alongside Airport Road.
Right.
She gets out of her big black SUV, and the big bulky Secret Service people get out, part of her protection detail, and she starts to interact spontaneously, of course, with her supporters who just happen to be there with signs, and her campaign just happened to have film in their cameras. And I get out of my car with my little, back then, I was so proud. We finally had gotten a digital recorder. It was the first digital recorder we had. I had to make sure that it was running. I get up there, and it had a mic flag on, so I wasn't being disingenuous or tricking. And I thought for sure somebody, one of these big, bulky Secret Service people would say,
no,
hey, you with the WNBF mic flag. Yeah, you. And, of course, my trademark would be like looking around like, talking to me? Talking to me, Willis? Anyway, but they didn't. They let me get close enough to her and actually, and asked her 2 or 3 questions, and she actually reciprocated. She answered them. There was I thought for sure
she was going to go no or whatever.
Well, she could have said no, or even more likely in that case, the Secret Service would have said, hey, what part of Pinder's Corners didn't you understand? This is not Pinder's Corners. Senator Moynihan is an hour away. You get back in your Bobmobile, and you go up to Pinder's Corners like the rest of the
good reporters.
They didn't do that.
No.
Yeah,
they were your question.
No. She was very receptive because I didn't know. I mean, look, she had to put up with you-know-who all her life.
Right.
And I'm thinking, so she's not going to be in a good mood. Maybe she was in a good mood because she wasn't around him.
Right.
So, and she actually answered, I think, 3 questions. Said,
that's fine.
yeah, and then I drove down, following all applicable speed limits and vehicle and traffic laws, to get here in time to punch up the digital thing.
So you flew down the hill, through Downs Avenue, over across Clinton.
You know.
And up Shenango.
You know. I'm not in a position to really respond to that.
You might want to take the Fifth Amendment on it.
I was going to say, my attorney, Bruce Barquette, my attorney, suggests that I refrain from responding.
That's right.
If there will be any statements about what happened that day beyond,
I think the statute of limitations has run out on
but it still is kind
moving
of funny.
violations.
But I got here in time because that's when Bernie Fiotti was doing the midday report. I said, Bernie, I was able to ask Hillary Clinton a few questions, and as you know, Bernie was one of the biggest fans of Hillary Clinton going. So he was like, he said, okay, well, can you get that audio ready in time for the thing? I said, yes, I will. And so he was here.
Bernie was big with pushing the record button on his tape recorder.
He started the midday report. He said, I'm Bernard Fiotti and you aren't. And now, First Lady Hillary Clinton just landed at whatever it was then, Edwin A. Link Field.
Right.
And Bob Joseph had an opportunity to speak with the First Lady. And then I take it from the newsroom, play whatever. It was a short thing, probably a minute and a half. But again, it was hours ahead before the rest of the media, Sam Donaldson, Edward R. Murrow, and Tucker Carlson had a chance to ask her questions.
Cool.
So anyway. Well, it's 10:34. Coming up next, we plan to open the phones, 607-772-1290. You're listening to Binghamton History on WNBF. Bob Joseph with Jerry Smith. Let's talk about Washington Avenue, shall we?
Sure. Let's talk about the one in Endicott.
The only one. The Avenue.
The Avenue. That's right. There's no other Washington Avenue in the world.
So what is the origin? How did the Avenue come to be? Who came up with this idea to have sort of main business district go from Main Street up to North Street in Endicott and basically have a showcase of fine businesses and services on this stretch? Because it's, at least around here, it's unique to have a nice self-contained business district just like that on its own street.
Right.
How did that happen?
Well, it was the thought of the owners of the Endicott Land Company. They were the ones who enticed Henry B. Endicott to open up an EJ factory there because they bought the farmland, but they were going to create a model town. And they knew that North Street, they had sort of laid out, that would be where factories could operate. And Main Street could be where another main thoroughfare, but they needed a retail corridor. So Washington Avenue became it. And then on either side, you could have some smaller shops, but also residential homes on either side. So people on either side and then the main retail corridor down one street. So if you figure from about 1906 when this, well, a little bit before that, but really it was incorporated in 1906 on, the avenue just kept growing and growing and growing. So you get a multitude. So all your big retail outlets start focusing on one area. And then you start getting things like Burt's Department Store. You get movie theaters because you had the Lyric, which is now EPAC. It was Lyric to Town to EPAC. There was the Strand Theater, which got torn down. There was
Strand Theater. Is that it's a parking lot now? That's next to what more recently had been Woody's Record Shop.
Yes, which also lasted for decades.
Yeah.
So a lot of these became, and they were locally owned stores. This wasn't like, there was a Woolworths later on there. But
there was no Walmart.
Nope. No Kmart. No James Wayne. No Ames. No
Target.
Nope. None of those.
No Chick-fil-A.
Nope.
But they had a lot of restaurants still. They even even though they didn't have Chick-fil-A
You
or
had restaurants.
McDonald's, they had lots of fine restaurants along
and
the
usually
avenue.
owned by either a Greek or an Italian. Because if you think of, let's see, I was going to say it's the Acropolis. It's not the Acropolis. It's the Pantheon. And other restaurants up through there. Then you start getting the clothing stores, from Klein's to Shapiro's to... and if you think about it, when I do my walking tour, some of those stores which are open have been there for 6+ decades. Satico's has been there since, I've forgotten now because I don't remember my notes, has been open since 1950-something.
Well, the flower shops.
Yes.
Endicott Florist and Angeline's.
Yes. There used to be Esther Immerman's ladies' wear. And then, of course, you get bakeries like Elks.
Yes. Well, so many fond memories. And sadly,
yes.
The North Brewery that's been in that location on Washington Avenue where Elks had been, and Zach Pedley had operated that for more than a decade.
Yes.
I mean, that had become a fixture.
Yeah.
And sadly, it's going to be closing.
Yep. And they had done a very nice job restoring the building and maintaining it. Because when we did our walking tours, they were doing a good business. And then that's a shame to see because, unfortunately, there's a lot of empty storefronts along the avenue right now. There's still a number of eateries, and they are of all ethnic types. When I mentioned Greek and Italian, well, that might have been the old days, but there's a lot of, you name it. When I was did the last walking tour, which is right in the midst of reconstruction of Washington Avenue, I noticed how many different nationalities were represented there, which is a good thing. It shows the diversity of our community.
Which goes back to its very history. When you think of Endicott and Johnson City and Binghamton, the Triple Cities, they were built and on the hard work of proud immigrants.
Yes. Who came here looking for a new opportunity and found. I just drove down Oak Hill because I had to drop my wife off somewhere and get to work in Owego, and I went past Oaks Inn. I did notice their sign. I didn't see that it still said hot pie on it, which got me a bit upset.
I think it still does.
I was hoping it still did, and I just missed it.
Pretty sure they would. Wouldn't it be like if without any announcement they changed it and suddenly from
pizza?
Hot pies it's like Detroit style pizza.
Well, that might.
I shouldn't even talk about that.
No, because some might stone you.
Somebody would misconstrue it that I'm endorsing.
Yeah,
but
there are some quiet efforts to put up a historical marker at the location that the first Speedies were created by the Iacovellis. Because considering that's our sort of hometown dish that we can claim around here. Because, I mean, you're right. I mean, I don't know how many times people want me to write a column about this restaurant or that restaurant owned by, whether it was, I did one on the Oasis, and then somebody wanted me to do something on the Pantheon, and then I did one on Red's Kettle Inn. And these are all immigrant families who ran these facilities and yet made a huge mark on our community.
Well, one thing that should be noted, and we mentioned with the impending closure of the North Brewery, the fact is, over the decades, Washington Avenue has constantly been in flux. I mean, businesses will start, businesses will sometimes expand, and then businesses will go. And I've seen some businesses, unfortunately, on the avenue that have had a very short run.
Yes.
And many, many businesses that have had some very good runs. I mean, the bottom line is it's very difficult under even the best of circumstances to maintain a business of any type forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of hard work.
Right.
And if you are the only person, or if it's your family, or if it's a couple of partners, at some point there comes a time when you need to assess everything, reassess everything about the amount of work you're putting in, and also the state of the business, and also looking forward and taking into account a lot of things, not just necessarily the state of the business, but say the state of your life and what you need to do that's best for you and say your family and friends. One thing I'll note, at the same time that we were learning about the news of the North Brewery, we also were able to report the impending opening of a Japanese sushi and steakhouse at the former Nurchi's on the Avenue.
Okay.
Right next to
so
Wendy's.
That's what's going on.
And that's, yes. So and I was happy to be able to report that because according to the signage, they hope to open sometime in October.
Okay.
So again.
And that might do very well. I hope it does. And again, they're opening in a restaurant that was started by Italian immigrants. So, I mean, it goes through cycles. There's been a study that family-owned businesses that are reasonably successful only last at most 3 generations. And the reason for that is the initial generation pour their life and soul into it. The next one have been brought up in it. The third one already had it there. And so there is not as much. Plus, you're talking 60, 70 years, and for a business operation, that's a long time for a business.
It's, multi-generation.
Yeah.
To get past the first 1 or 2 generations is remarkable.
Indeed.
And I know, and so many people have worried, and I think with good reason, since the improvement project began last April on Washington Avenue, how many businesses would survive this project. In fact, that was essentially a headline of a story we did on July 1st. And the person who was our primary source for discussing it was Zach Pedley from the North Brewery. We had him on the program talking. And at the time, I don't think he was very specific about the state of his business.
Right.
But you could also tell that the situation was of great concern for him, for how his business was at the middle, or at that point, early summer, and then how things would go. And he was also concerned about the other businesses and services along the avenue. So one thing that is important to note, that within the next several weeks, that project should wrap up, and then the new look of Washington Avenue will be there, and then some of these places, including the sushi and steakhouse, will reopen with better paving, better lighting, better sidewalks, and so on. So hopefully that'll usher in the next chapter for the Avenue.
I hope.
More coming up. We're live and local on News Radio WNBF. If you have any history questions for Jerry Smith, call us at 607-772-1290. You're listening to WNBF. Go back to the phones on this Monday morning. Sharon in Vestal, good morning. You're on the air with Jerry Smith.
Good morning. Enjoying the program. I just want to give you a real quick snapshot of the family business that I was the 3rd generation of.
Okay.
Goodrich Implement in Oakdale, Johnson City.
Oh, yeah.
My grandfather and his 4 brothers came up from Kingsley, Pennsylvania. Their dad was a school teacher down there, and he couldn't make a living at that enough to feed his family, so they came up to work in EJ.
Right.
And so my grandfather started the tractor business. One of his brothers, Hubert, started the Goodrich Milk Company in Johnson City, and he later went on to be a Broome County supervisor of some sort. Uncle Willard started a machine shop, which eventually got bought out and included with IBM. And let's see, I'm missing somebody, but they sent their youngest brother, Robert, to college, and he became a teacher. So the 5 brothers were like kind of an original incubator up on Oakdale Road in Johnson City, where they started all their businesses.
Right.
And then my dad grew up and took over the business, and I took over the business, and we just sold it in October of 2021. But we did include the fourth generation as employees at that point.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay, you broke the pattern.
Yeah.
Good for you. Great.
Yeah, just barely.
And I know it well because my grandparents' house was on Harriel Drive and Reynolds Road.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I went past there many times. Plus, my father went there a number of times because he was a farmer and needed something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very convenient. So I applaud your family because they've been there for a long time.
It was a wonderful way to grow up to and meet a lot of wonderful people. And my dad would take us to the farms as he was out making sales. And,
yes.
But it should be noted also the business was a proud supporter of WNBF for many, many, many years.
Particularly Bill Flynn.
Yes, I know.
Wow, yes.
Yes, that relationship with Bill Flynn goes back so many years, and I just wanted to at least acknowledge that. That's important, of course, to Bill Flynn.
Yeah.
And it's important to us. We appreciate the support of locally owned businesses. So, Sharon, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good talking with you.
Good, you too.
It's 10:54 at WNBF. Now, a presentation is about to be made.
Da, 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 da. It's a sign. And the sign says 962J. And why does it say 962J, Bob?
Well, Jerry, there's a story to this.
I know.
First, we want to acknowledge Jesse from Owego who gifted this sign to me.
Yes, he did.
So,
and he gave it to me to present to you.
I may get emotional here and I may tear up.
Okay.
I'll try at least while we're on the air to keep my composure. But I had to look this up. So New York State Route 962J is about 0.4 of a mile long, a reference route that, unlike most reference routes, has been signed as a touring route in the southern tier in the town of Tioga between Appalachian and Campville on the bridge.
Yep.
So somebody at the DOT made a mistake several years ago because these reference routes are not supposed to have signs like that. They can have little designators on the green and white signs you see along every state route. But somebody put up signage at both ends of the bridge, the beautiful bridge that I think opened around 1999.
Yeah.
Well, they shouldn't have. And yet they did, and I think after I started talking about it on the air, somebody sent a memo to a DOT crew, I guess, and said, you know what, let's nip this in the bud and stop giving him something to talk about. Take down. It's like Ronald Reagan, Mr. Cuomo, take down those Route 962J signs. And they did.
Yeah.
So they're gone now. So if you're at that intersection, either on Route 434 or on 17C, either side of the Susquehanna River, there's no sign. Well, except they missed one. There's still one there on the north side.
Okay.
They left one. I don't know why. I think they did it just to taunt me. It's like we took, and I can't remember how many signs there really were. If you go back on Google Street View, you can find a certain year when they were up, and then you can see, so you can narrow down about when they took them down. So anyway, that is the amusing saga of Route 962J, and now I have a sign.
You have a sign.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse.
And thank you, Jerry Smith, for the timely delivery of said sign.
Anytime, Bob.
It's very meaningful to me. Get your kicks on Route 962J.
No.
Well, that's all the time we have.
Thank God.
I think, I'll be looking forward to your work in the Press and Sun Bulletin of Press Connect.
I hope so.
Thank you, Jerry Smith. You're listening to News Radio, WNBF and WNBF.com. We're pleased to welcome to our studio Angie Pelakidis.
Got it.
Yes, and thank you for being with us. You must be excited because you have a novel that's coming out, and it must be so exciting.
It sure is.
Yeah.
It's a miracle. It only took 8 years.
And you're probably still pinching yourself.
Absolutely. It feels a little surreal, I have to say, to actually hold a physical copy of my book in my hands.
I saw a photo. You posted a photo of when you got the delivery, the physical copies of your book. And just because I could sense, even though this is the first time we've met, I could sense just from what you posted with the picture, just what an amazing moment that was for you.
It sure is, because it's such a long process from start to finish with so much revision involved, and you think there are times where it's never going to happen, and then suddenly there it is in a box in concrete form where you can hold it in your hands. And so it's a long journey that finally has actually reached fruition.
Well, we'll talk a bit about the book in a moment, though. First, a bit about yourself. You have been on the Binghamton University faculty now for several years.
A long time.
Yeah. And you've gotten acclimated to the Binghamton area, but you didn't grow up here. You were born in Brooklyn?
I was born in Brooklyn, and I've probably lived there longer than any other place, but my parents moved us around quite a bit. So I've lived in Clearwater, Florida, in upstate New York, in a really rural area, Canton, New York. I went to undergrad at Auburn University in Alabama. So I've lived in a couple of different places and different settings, but I live in Binghamton now since 2005 and absolutely love it.
Tell us a bit about your role here at Binghamton University. First of all, how you first wound up learning about Binghamton University and your initial relationship with Binghamton. How you wound up just out of all the potential places in the world choosing Binghamton several years ago. You could have gone anywhere.
I could have, sort of. I was looking for someplace. I was living in Brooklyn. I'd been doing public relations for a long time. And when my father actually passed away, and when I was ready to make a change in my life, I thought, where is there a location within reasonable distance from New York City so I can visit my friends that has a university where the real estate prices are reasonable and there's an opportunity to have some land, because I'm a big gardener, and Binghamton fit the bill perfectly. And that's how I ended up going to Binghamton University, getting my master's degree, and then getting my PhD there as well.
And then you chose to stay. I mean, now you're teaching writing to lots of young minds, so people from New York and other states and other countries. And so basically your love of writing is being passed on to future generations.
It sure is. Binghamton University was kind enough to hire me after I graduated. And then over the course of a couple of years, I ended up becoming the assistant director of first-year writing and then the associate director of first-year writing. So I teach a lot of first-year writing classes, but I also get a chance to teach marketing communications because that is my original background. So Binghamton has some of the best students. They are my kind of people. They don't come from privileged backgrounds necessarily, but they are hardworking and really smart. So I love teaching them.
And it really is exciting because so many Binghamton graduates have gone on to make a mark in so many areas of that are important to the United States and the world. I mean, whether it's entertainment. I mean, on one hand, if you watch TV or listen to the radio for more than 5 minutes, you'll probably wind up hearing Flo.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I am sure, I haven't spoken with her, but from everything I've read, when she was studying at Binghamton, she didn't intend to become well known around the country as a spokesperson for an insurance company, but that's the way it worked out.
Isn't that amazing?
It's
and then
incredible.
You have Tony Kornheiser, I think, from ESPN, who also went to Binghamton University. So,
and he makes many mentions about
absolutely,
Paul Reiser, and just a large number of people, again, in the media and elsewhere. And then, and I don't make predictions, but who's to say that in a few months that Hakeem Jeffries from Binghamton University won't wind up being the Speaker of the House of Representatives?
I did not know that he went to Binghamton. Are you kidding me? That's amazing.
It is amazing, and it's true. So when you think about somebody, and he was almost scheduled to be on the program once a couple of years ago, and we just didn't connect with him. Hopefully at some point in the coming weeks, we'll be able to talk with Mr. Jeffries about his time in Binghamton in the early 90s. Wow. He was active in politics during his time at Binghamton University, and I just don't know. I always have had a few questions about not just his studies here at Binghamton and also his early political activism, but even just sort of what he thought of our community, and especially going forward. I mean, right now he is the Democratic leader in the House, so to have someone in that position of power, and with the possibility that come January he could be the next Speaker of the House, I think it'd be interesting to have the Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, and the Senate Majority Leader, Charles Schumer, both very familiar with Binghamton.
Absolutely. I know Schumer has come here a couple of times to Binghamton.
He's been to graduations, and he's been to the university campus and other facilities to make announcements about some of the research programs and more. So he has become very familiar with the story of Binghamton. Let's continue more with your story. First, at what point several years ago did you say, well, I'm going to start writing? I know, because I'm sure you were familiar with the way novels get published. I know it's not going to be easy, but you actually started this project. Tell me how this book, Unlucky Me, got its start.
So Unlucky Mel actually started after I graduated in 2014. I actually wrote a different novel prior to that was a failure. It didn't work out. And sometimes we learn a lot from our failures. So what I learned was that I'm the type of person that has to plot out a novel. And so that's what I did. I learned the process of creating a different type of plot, and then I worked on Unlucky Mel off and on as I taught and did other things. I had beta readers read the novel, give me feedback on it, and over time it evolved into being something that I could then pitch to independent presses. And I tried the agent route. It is very difficult to get an agent to represent you. And so that didn't work out for me, but I was very fortunate to submit the novel to Cornell University Press when they had an open submission era, and they accepted it. It took a little while. It took more revisions, but eventually they accepted the book, and here we are. It's actually published by them.
And tell us a bit about Mel. Who is this Melody Howlings? What's her deal?
Melody is a lovable weirdo. She is a longtime Binghamton resident who is trying to spread her wings and fly away by going to graduate school after working as an office manager for many years. So she's a little bit older than her peers in graduate school. Unfortunately, her father is diagnosed with dementia, and so she is challenged to find a job to teach locally, and for that she needs her best friend in the program to help her. But unfortunately, he kind of screws her over, and then she vows revenge. So it is a comedy and a campus novel that also looks at some serious things, like, having to take care of elderly parents.
And it's interesting that you chose to set this novel here in Binghamton.
Well, you know what? Honestly, that was the easiest part, because then I could use local places as locations within the book, and it's a lot easier to visit places that you live around than trying to travel and go elsewhere. And plus, I just love Binghamton. There's so many cool places in Binghamton that you can visit. The restaurant scene is getting so much better now. There's beautiful natural areas. So it made my life easier in a way to borrow from Binghamton universities to create my fictional university in my novel, and as well as other locations around town.
And that's one of the things that people who are hearing us today, especially Binghamton Down listeners, might find fascinating, that there definitely are places that you'll recognize and you'll say, aha. And then I'm sure when you go to some of those places, say in the future, you might close your eyes and even imagine some of the scenarios that play out in this novel.
Absolutely. I can almost imagine a scavenger hunt that takes place where little clues are left at the various locations, because there's so many from Binghamton and the surrounding area that are mentioned in the book. And so I've actually thought about doing a little bit of a contest where it's like, guess how many different places and win a prize.
I like that idea. Tell me a little bit about some of the initial feedback you've received. Now, the official publication date is September 15th. What are you hearing from some people who've had a chance to read Unlucky Mel?
That's been the most amazing thing, because you never know how people are going to receive your writing. And so I've gotten some incredible feedback. A really good friend of mine said she read it in one setting, and she hasn't done that with a book in years. Another one just was in love with the characters and how their trajectory shows like all the things that we go through on a regular basis in life and how we deal with them and overcome issues. So it's been really positive. My editor said something that I will never forget. She said it was a thrill of her lifetime to work on this book. It was like the high point of her career. So that was amazingly gratifying. You don't expect it, but when you get it, you're so grateful.
As far as promoting the book, tell me a bit about what goes into promoting a first novel. Have you done many interviews yet, or do you have interviews scheduled going forward, tied in with the upcoming publication date?
I've had a couple done already, 2 television news articles, or interviews, excuse me. And our publicist, the publicist at Cornell University Press, is just doing a phenomenal job at getting various things happening. And there's been a lot of writing that's going to be coming out over the next couple of weeks that are things that I worked on with him. So fortunately, I come from a marketing communications background. I did that for about 10 years in New York City. So it's been a combination of, just all the things that I'm learning about book marketing from Cornell University Press's publicist, and then learning things myself. And so it's been a great process to get to know how to do this different form of marketing communications that I'm not familiar with.
Let's talk just a little bit about that aspect, though, of your career and marketing communications. It is interesting to me, as someone who's been in the communications business for a long time, that some basic things have stayed the same, but things are always changing too. Things are evolving. What are some of the things that from your perspective, as here we are in 2024, things move so rapidly, and what are some of the things that, in terms of new opportunities, new challenges that are going to emerge, say, over the next few years?
Well, obviously, social media is huge with promoting anything, and getting linked up with, influencers and brand ambassadors so that they can talk about your product is a huge part of marketing communications. A lot of it's about integrated marketing communications now, and making sure that whatever message you have is going to the right audience. You're finding the correct audience that you want to target, and then targeting them with a message where they will get that message. So, if you're, trying to appeal to a younger audience, you're not going to go to Facebook. You're going to go to Snapchat. You're going to go to TikTok, right? So understanding who your audience is, and then creating that coherent message that is across the board in all your materials is part of why integrated marketing communications is pretty much the way to go nowadays, as opposed to maybe some of the more traditional forms of doing things.
And yet some of the platforms you just mentioned that may be hot at the moment, a year or two from now, they may not. There's always something new, the next big thing.
Who knows, right? This is true. And I think probably being really flexible and doing your research is a huge component of it, to see what new opportunities are out there so that you can use them to help advance information and, get to your appropriate audience out there.
On the one hand, it might be disconcerting, especially for traditionalists or maybe older people, and yet with the constant new opportunities and concepts that are going to come out, it's also exciting, because you never know what is big in September 2024. In September 2025, it may have been sort of relegated to the back burner. You have to pay attention.
Absolutely. Paying attention and being mindful of what's out there. One of the things that I have my marketing communication students do is read things like Adweek and getting to know what are the latest trends in marketing communications efforts, because it's such a rapidly changing industry. So, we read a lot of research as well to see what the scholarly sources are saying about various things in marketing, but we also stay on top of the latest trends as they're being actually implemented within the industry.
Back to your book, Unlucky Mel. Will you be having any local appearances where people might be able to actually meet you or have a chance to get a signed copy of your book?
Absolutely. On the 18th, Wednesday, September 18th, I will be at Lost Dog doing our book launch party. That's going to be from, I think, 6 to 9 p.m., and all are invited. And I will be selling some copies there, doing a brief reading. And then actually there'll be cake. So if that's an incentive. And then also on the 27th, I will be at Barnes & Noble on the Parkway from 6 to 8 p.m. doing, again, another reading, and there will be books for sale as well. There will not be cake, just to let everybody know, but there will be cake at the book launch party.
And again, that's at the Lost Dog Cafe.
Absolutely, which is mentioned in the book. So, of course, I had to have the book launch party there. There's an entire chapter in the book that takes place at Lost Dog. So,
I haven't read that part yet.
Okay. You'll get there.
I will.
It's there.
I will. Angie Pelakidis, congratulations on the publication of your first novel, Unlucky Mel. And if people don't make it to the bookstore, I'm sure the book is available through all the usual methods.
Absolutely. Cornell University Press, Amazon, everywhere.
Wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
It's 11:29. We're live and local on News Radio, WNBF 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. Back to the phones we go. At 607-772-1290. Vinny from Binghamton, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bob. Hey, I wanted to call in to talk about an observation I made yesterday. I'm watching football. Thursday was the first day, but I'm watching the football, and I'm looking at the political messages. And it was funny because Molinaro would come on, and then right after that, there'd be a Democratic one. And telling about Molinaro and how he has voted this way, not what he's saying. But I thought what was interesting was in the Democratic commercial, at the bottom of the screen, it showed the bills, HR this, HR that. It showed all these bills where he voted, yet his doesn't have any of that stuff. And it's kind of funny because this is what I talked about Friday or last week. Yeah, you can vote on a bill. Did it pass? When you voted on, I wanted to close the borders, did it pass? It should have passed in the Republican-led House. These bills didn't pass. And why? And I hope that Kamala Harris talks about this in the debate. I want her to go straight to these borders. I want her to tell the American people that when I was the Attorney General of California, we were a border state. Talk about the rules. Talk about what she did, okay? While I was there getting these criminals and prosecuting, you were on the golf course golfing. You don't know a dang thing about the borders. And that's what she should do. And I'm so glad that Josh Riley wants to talk about these borders, and I hope he does. And one of the first questions, why did you guys not take that Senate bill for the borders? You look at that bill, it covered all the corners. It was an absolutely great start to start getting this border mess together. But you guys didn't even, Mike Johnson didn't even bring it to the floor. What does that tell you? These guys they're just all hot air when it comes to the borders. Talking about, we had this guy up in Endicott. Well, you know what? If you had passed that bill, this would have helped because there's probably going to be some more that can leak up here. But you guys don't have a bill. We're still waiting for your replacement for Obamacare. Where's that? These are the things that have to be brought and put up on the table, and I hope she does that. But this border thing, I get sick of hearing people calling about this border when you Trumpers are the ones that didn't even pass this extensive border bill.
But they couldn't because then they would have been without one of their key issues. See, that was the whole point was to keep this issue alive at least until November.
And that should be said. It should be said, yeah.
I don't think Kamala Harris will have the courage to say that during the debate.
Well, no, I think what she'll do is talk about her time doing it, Bob. Like I said, she was a border state. I went after these convicts out there in California. Okay, why this guy was out there every 3 days.
Well, maybe she'll take the case, maybe if she's done any research, maybe one of her campaign people will even point to the case in Endicott where that guy from Peru, who apparently has been implicated in nearly 24 killings in his home country, maybe she could take that case and she could even mention East Franklin Street in Endicott and why this guy, who knows if it was somebody even from Texas, like even from the governor's office in Texas who helped him plan his trip to Endicott. We don't know. Nobody will say how he got to Endicott. Maybe somebody at the state capitol in Texas should call us and explain what they know about how after he managed to get into the United States apparently illegally and was issued apparently an appearance ticket for a future hearing, how he wound up getting from Texas to the Binghamton area and specifically Endicott. Did he have any assistance from the state of Texas?
Well, I think what I would do is I would get my people on this. I want you guys to go back and I want you to go into the Trump administration. I want you to find how many killings, robberies happened with illegal aliens under him. And then you give me that information and I'll bring it out to you. And I say, you see, even under this guy, with that bill that we have, and let's look at his bill that he had during that time about some wall that's not even finished, because most of the people don't understand how big that border is. There's a part where the fence just stops, and they just go all the way up on this hill, and they go around it, because it's more. You're always going to have this, but we need a more extensive one, with the laws, with taking these people on, and they just, we need more money for more law enforcement. That was in that bill. You can't just have a wall. You've got to have people down there patrolling these things. And you got to have somebody to go over on the other side and start working with these governments like Kamala Harris did. And hey, what can we do? We got to stop this flow. There's so much that you have to be done with it, but they know. The other side knows that the American people aren't going to follow. We're just going to, let's do a photo op. Let's go on down there and have our picture taken and then say, oh, we got to do something about this border. Meanwhile, they voted not even to bring it to the floor because they know. Bob, Molinaro, there's a tape that shows where he talked about when they were doing the Speaker of the House. He said the people in my district don't give a dang about who the Speaker of the House was. You could have fooled me when Nancy Pelosi was in there.
Well, wait until they hear about what happened to Hakeem Jeffries next January. Then they'll probably care.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely.
Then you'll probably see some people on Court Street paying closer attention to the House of Representatives. You certainly have a lot of people on campus in Vestal paying attention to the very successful Hakeem Jeffries, who got his educational start, his higher education start, right here in Broome County, thanks to Binghamton University.
Absolutely.
That's what they could say. The road to the House runs through BU.
Oh, my God, I know.
The road to Capitol leadership runs through Vestal.
I'm hoping. Well, it can be done, man. Then we'll be connected.
Well, that'll be, who knows? Who knows? There's nothing to say that when Hakeem Jeffries spent his time in Binghamton that he didn't learn some of his information about key political events from News Radio, WNBF.
Well, I think it'd be great to have a guy from this area to represent us down there, like Josh Riley.
Hey, couldn't hurt to have a guy. And again, I'm not endorsing. I don't endorse candidates.
No,
all I know is I love West Endicott. I lived in West Endicott. I'm familiar with the mean streets of West Endicott and the nice streets. By the way, they're all nice streets, mean streets. I know June Street and Birdsall and Wendell and how to pronounce them.
Yeah.
And Page Avenue. Those are the streets of the hardworking people like me, Vinny, people like you, the hardworking Americans.
I'm from this area. I understand.
You know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Don't stop me when I'm on a roll.
No, won't do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. But again, I don't endorse candidates. You know me. I respect them all. Every one. And remember, all major candidates are welcome on this program. By the way, we can talk about the issues, too. If you're one of the stick to the issues crowd and you know who you are, you can call us at 607-772-1290. I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now on WNBF. Joe and Owego, good morning. You're on the air. How are you?
Read with great interest Attorney General James' presentation on Proposition 1 headline guaranteeing access to abortion. I would like to know very clearly if that includes late-term access to late-term abortions. And the reason I ask is that we are electing an entirely new assembly, and I would like to know where each candidate stands on this issue for that reason before I cast my ballot. Just like to be informed. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Joe. It's 11:44 at News Radio, WNBF and WNBF.com. The debate, tomorrow's big debate that everybody will be watching or listening to, except those who have already made up their mind. See, I haven't made up my mind, so I'll probably watch the whole thing. I think it's appropriate for me to view what happens, what transpires during the debate tomorrow night. I hope they ask some good questions. Sometimes the questions they ask leave a little bit to be desired. But I'm sure they'll do. I mean, it is ABC after all, so it's a very well respected operation. ABC, which stands for American Broadcasting Company, so it's not like it's run by a guy from Australia. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Larry from Kirkwood.
Hey, Larry, what's up?
Well, first of all, I want to apologize for last week. I called up here, and I had to end the call because my phone was messing up on me, so I apologize, Bob.
No problem.
Well, it'll be fun tomorrow to see the debate. I'm just wondering how many word salads that Kamala is going to go through before she gets to the point.
I think it's a good question for both candidates. I wonder if we're going to see that one candidate who seems to have, I don't know what they call it. They came up with some sort of catchphrase to describe how that candidate speaks, and it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. I heard him attempt to answer a question about child care last week, and the answer, I think he spoke for about 2 minutes, and the answer was effectively a non-response. I played it back 3 or 4 times, and there was absolutely nothing of substance I could make out of his answer. He sounded perhaps confused about the child care issue.
I have to apologize. I didn't hear anything you said because my sister was talking to me, knocked on my door there, and I wasn't listening. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry.
Well, what we're concerned about both candidates being able to speak in complete sentences and the ability of both candidates to establish some clear thoughts instead of coming out with a bunch of gibberish.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, I don't want to be subjected to each candidate giving me pithy little catchphrases and acting like they're dazed and confused. I think right at the outset, I think what happened to Joe Biden in late June at the CNN debate, that ought to be a lesson to both candidates. If say, an hour before the scheduled start of tomorrow night's debate, if you're in no condition, either physically or mentally or psychologically, if you're just not up to debating, just send an email to the debate organizer and say, I was looking forward to the debate, but I'm just in no shape to answer your questions tonight. That's what Biden should have done, and then things would have been a whole lot different. Instead, he toughed it out, even though apparently he was sick, and he lost his job because he didn't do the right thing.
Well, Biden is so damn prideful. He didn't care. That's why.
Well, I'm sure he didn't care. But my point is, for the two candidates who are now on the ballot, I'm saying learn from Biden. Don't make a mistake. If you're not in any shape to debate tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, let the debate organizers know that you can't do it tonight. Can we do it tomorrow night instead? So I'm sure if they can't do it Tuesday, then they can reschedule for Wednesday. That shouldn't be a problem.
Well,
we don't want another debacle on our hands. What we saw in late June on live TV was something that should never have happened.
Yeah, well, the fact is, I'll give Kamala this, too. She's not like Biden in that respect.
No, she's not. She's young, vibrant, thoughtful, articulate, everything he wasn't in the CNN debate.
Neither of them has a mental cognitive issue like that. They may go around and circle around and stuff. So,
all right. Well, it's going to be interesting. So I appreciate your call. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Bye.
It's 11:49 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Bob. How are you?
Great. Who is this?
This is Martin from Binghamton.
Oh, how are things in the ward?
Oh, nice and sunny and pleasant, and cemetery's looking great. I intend to maybe go over there and visit a friend and a couple others and whatever. But my call is about, that child care thing just went round and round. It was very confusing as usual. But,
what do you think he meant? So you saw what I'm talking about. So you've had a chance to think about what exactly did Donald Trump mean by that?
Well, he went more into tariffs and money and just, I don't know, but it wasn't certainly, he never mentioned about child care. And it was, matter of fact, they highlighted that this morning on the television. And but it's hard to decipher because now he's the oldest one running, and we'll see about how cognitive he is tomorrow when he gets in there against a prosecutor. But real important, the reason I'm calling is that I was diagnosed with cancer last week, and I'm getting ready for. I had to check in something in my bones, and so I'm ready to go back and see the guy today and talk about radiation and starting treatment and everything else. And then they're going through Trump's history, him groping women, everything, reaching underneath the women's skirts, and he can do all that, and he can get away with it at the teenage pageant, which he bought that one. Now, who buys a teenage pageant? So he can go into the locker room, and he actually said verbatim, I can get away with it. He can go in there. And even the girls said, I see some of their quotes, they were discussing it, that it was creepy. But, the main thing is currently right now is tied in with the debates is January 6th, and that how he watched them and he was reveling in it. They're doing it for me. These people are doing this all for me, and he's watching them for 3 hours. People are pleading with him, his daughters, everybody. Come on, can you go and do something? They're beating up policemen and everything else, and and it just hit me that life is timing and it coincides. You know what he is? To me, as far as I look at him, he is cancer. He is a cancer to us. He is a cancer to the world. He's a cancer to our country. And they're taking it from me. I mean, just look at his history. And Michael Mulvaney and other people have said, he's a horrible human being. Not even as a person. In his whole history, the Central Park Five. Everything about this guy is just toxic, cancerous. We can't have a cancer on the presidency again. Matter of fact, where'd that come from before? Haven't we heard that before? There's a cancer growing on the presidency. And what happened? We got rid of the guy.
Well, that's true. The cancer, the previous cancer on the presidency was removed, fortunately for the country.
Yes, it was. And especially at a great time, too. And we were lucky that the guy came in after that, and he wasn't a bad guy. He was a good guy. He was a proud American, and I believe he was very, very honest. I think we were fortunate that he was available for that situation under some very unpleasant circumstances. Yes, he was a Republican. I'm a staunch Democrat, and of course Vietnam was just winding down and all that. But he started a great program called CETA, Comprehensive Employment Training Act. I got a job up there at Cole Park, and we cleared all the woods around there, put that path in there. It's still there today, and many other jobs. But and then of course his wife went on and put herself out there on the line, Betty Ford, and she has helped millions of people. And so he was a great guy, and very didn't get his accolades as much as I think he should have, but it could have been worse. It could have got in, but especially after what a dark period of time, what a dark time that was, and to get rid of that guy. But we can't have this guy. We know what this is. It's like having cancer and having to come back again, and how exhausting was he, Bob? Every morning, all he cared about, all you heard and read and listened to on the news was him. He's such a narcissist. We can't have a man like that again. He's exhausting.
Well, he even fell asleep on Twitter. The Kafifi episode. He tweeted out Kafifi, and everybody's like, "What? This guy? This is the most powerful guy on the planet, and he tweets out Kafifi." Now that'd be different if it was me. People would say, yeah, well, it's Bob Joseph. What do you expect? But at least he's just a journalist and a talk show host in Binghamton. So no harm, no foul. But the guy, the president of the United States, the guy with the nuclear codes in the middle of the night is tweeting out Kafifi. Come on, man.
Well, a Belmar burger came out of that.
Well, I was going to say, fortunately, thanks to Ed Hickey, something good happened out of it. He's the type of guy, I'll say about the owner of the legendary Belmar on Main Street on Binghamton's west side. He's the type of guy, when life hands you lemonade, he makes lemons, and he came out with a Kafifi burger. And so that was the silver lining during that a dark time on Twitter. Hey, I appreciate your call. I wish you well. I wish you the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And life is timing, coincidental. I'm a big one on coincidence in life and spirituality. And, things will work out. I met a guy after at the checkout. We were talking about fishing, and he had Adirondacks and everything, and he's already going through the treatment. And so I was worried about that and the radiation because I seen it with my girlfriend. But everybody's different. But, I'm going to just be one day at a time, Bob. So thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing, and we are with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It's 11:56 at WNBF. We're an extended family here at Binghamton now, and we wish Martin the best going forward in the days ahead. Here's the weather forecast. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are expected this afternoon. According to the National Weather Service, a few stronger storms may produce gusty winds over 50 miles an hour and small hail. Here's the complete forecast. Partly sunny this afternoon. A few showers, maybe scattered thunderstorms late in the afternoon. High 73. Showers and thunderstorms tonight. The low 54, some patchy fog early tomorrow morning. Otherwise, mostly sunny tomorrow with a high of 72. And then sunny on Wednesday, high 78. Right now, it's 67 in downtown Binghamton. That's 19 Celsius. It's 11:57. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, Bob, I didn't think I was going to be on the air. I thought I'd catch you at a commercial. Hey, Bob, I heard you say you were undecided, and you know what? I have that much faith in you. I again, back to betting, you said don't do it. I would bet my house you would not vote for Harris, but I think your big decision is whether to vote for Trump or write in Alice Cooper. That's what I'm thinking, Bob. Because you won't.
I will say I will not be locked in with my decision until probably the morning of Election Day. So I'm not going to cast an early ballot. I will decide both for the top of the ticket, the presidential and vice presidential candidates. I'll probably make a final decision on Election Day, and we'll see where it happens. Obviously, that's what it's all about. Take into account every bit of information you have and then try to make the best choice possible. That's our program for today. I'm Bob Joseph. Thanks for joining us. I'll be back tomorrow morning here on WNBF.